Okay, we are going to start with solving one-step equations, and then we're going to go on to solving multi-step equations. And this is the vocabulary for both of those things. So a symbol, often a letter, that represents an unknown number in an equation or an expression is a variable. And a lot of these words you should have known already. These you should have heard. The next one, let me make mine a little bit bigger so you can see it. A number multiplied by a variable in an expression, for example, in 3x, so it's coefficient. And in 3x, the coefficient is 3. In 3x, the coefficient is 3. So it's a number before the variable. And then the next one is constant. And a constant is a number without a variable, because a variable changes a number as you multiply it, whereas a constant is a number without a variable and it stays the same. It's a fixed number that does not change. It's a fixed number that does not change. For example, in x plus 7, 7 is a constant. 7 is a constant. Number 4, a combination of numbers and variables and operations such as 4x minus 5 that represents value but does not, this is the biggest thing in this one, it does not include an equal sign. It does not include an equal sign. That is an expression. And the next one, when it does include does not include an equal sign. And then an equation is a mathematical statement that two expressions are equal and shows an equal sign. So expression has no equal sign. An equation, which shows two expressions are equal, includes an equal sign. The next one, pairs of operations that undo each other or inverse operation. Inverse operations. And so we can say addition, what's the opposite of addition? Subtraction. And the opposite of multiplication is division. Number 7, terms an expression that has the same variable raised to the same power. So it's got to have the same variable and the same exponent. And they can be combined by adding or subtracting their coefficients. Those are like terms, and we've talked about those. They can be combined by adding or subtracting the coefficients, depending upon what the sign is in front of the coefficient. The sign in front of the coefficient always goes with the coefficient. A property that lets you multiply a sum by multiplying each addend separately. So if I had A with B plus C in parentheses, I would distribute, so it's distributive property. The distributive property, my distributive looks really bad. Let's try that again. It's used to remove parentheses in multi-step equations. The next thing, this is isolate the variable. And it's the process of using those inverse operations and simplifying so the variable appears on one side and our solution, which is the next thing, appears on the other. So we want to isolate the variable to answer the equation to find the solution. And it's the value of the variable that makes an equation true. For example, x equals 4 is the solution to 2x plus 3 equals 11. So that's for all of our vocabulary we're going to use. And today, let's practice distribution. So when we distribute, whatever's on the outside of the parentheses goes to each piece inside the parentheses. To each piece inside the parentheses. And then we could write each of those. And then it's distributed by multiplying it. It's distributed by multiplying it. It's distributed by multiplying it. I want to practice some down here. Let's do these and we can talk about them as we go. So 6, we're going to distribute to 4 and 5. So I'm going to say 6 times 4 plus 6 times 5. 6 times 4 is 24, plus 6 times 5 is 30. When I add those two together, I get 54. Again, we're going to distribute to each thing in. So 4 times 3 plus 4 times 2. Whatever this sign is in between those two numbers in the parentheses, we are going to carry over outside the parentheses. 4 times 3 is 12, plus 4 times 2 is 8. When I add those two together, I get 20. Again, this one's pretty much the same thing. I'm distributing to each. I'm multiplying times each, 10 times 5. Now this time, in between my numbers, I had a negative sign, so it's going to be minus 10 times 7. Whatever that sign is what we use. 10 times 5 is 50, minus 70 gives me negative 20. Be careful when you are subtracting those positive and negative numbers. Again, even though I have a variable, I'm still multiplying the coefficients and keeping the variable. So it's going to be 4 times 3x plus 4 times 2. 4 times 3x is 12x plus 8. And both, I cannot combine these because I have a variable and not a variable, so that is as simplified as that expression can be. Okay, here again, same thing. Negative 5 times 6x plus negative 5 times 5. Negative 5 times 6x is negative 30x. Now, negative 5 times 5 is negative 25, so I can write that negative 25 like this. So that would be my simplified expression. Again, same thing. Negative 12 times 3x squared minus, because I have that minus, 6 times negative 12. So negative 12 times 3 is going to give me negative 36 x squared. Now let's talk about this right here. I have a negative and a negative. I am multiplying those two things. When I multiply two negatives, what happens? Right, it becomes a positive, 72. One thing, when I have a negative sign on the outside of the parentheses, everything in that parentheses is going to change signs. It makes everything in the parentheses change signs. So you automatically know when I'm multiplying, when I'm distributing a negative number, everything in the parentheses is going to change signs. Okay, here, oops, let's back that up. Again, here and here. So I have 4x times 3x plus 4x times 5. Now, when I look at these x's, I'm multiplying these x's. So I'm multiplying the coefficients, so 4 times 3 is 12, and then x times x is x squared. Again, remember when I'm multiplying the same base, so my base is x, I add my exponents. And remember, I have that hidden exponent of 1 here, so when I add 1 plus 1, I get 2. 4x times 5 is going to give me 20x. Same thing here, 2x times 6x. I'm going to have a negative sign here, minus 2x times 2. 2 times 6 is 12. X times x is going to be x squared, just like we did. I'm going to keep this negative sign, and 2x times 2 is going to give me 4x. Another one, negative 3x times 6x minus negative 3x times negative 5. Negative 3 times 6 is going to give me negative 18. X times x is going to give me x squared. Now, negative 3 times negative 5 is going to give me a positive 15x. Same thing here. Now, let's see if we can skip a step. I'm just going to multiply my coefficients. So 5 times 3 is going to give me 15. X times x squared. Remember, I'm multiplying the same bases. I'm adding my exponents, so that would give me x to the third. Plus 5 times 4 is 20. X times x is x squared. Okay, here, again, same thing. X times 4 times x to the third. So basically, remember, there's a hidden 1 here. So 1 times 4 is going to give me 4. X times x to the third, I'm adding those exponents, so it gives me x to the fourth. Again, 1 times 7 is going to give me 7. X, I'm adding 1 and 2, x to the third. Same thing here. Remember, I have that hidden 1 and that hidden 1. So negative 2 times 1 is going to give me negative 2. X to the first times x to the second, I add those, so x to the third. And remember, I told you that when I have a negative on the outside, every sign inside changes sign. So I know this is now going to be a negative, because negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. X times x is going to give me x squared. And let's do the challenge one. Negative 5 times 4, negative 20, and my x to the third stays the same. Negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. My x squared stays the same. Negative 5 times negative 1 would give me a positive 5x. And negative 5 times negative 4 would give me a positive 20. So this was distribution.